We will call the November school board meeting to order, and we'll start with a pledge of allegiance. I want to say thank you to everybody for coming tonight. Since I've been a school board member, this is by far the largest group we've had, so thank you for coming. Stephanie, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, there's a list I'm aware of that I did out for you to read. We'll slip it there.
Okay.
And then John. Added an additional one.
I'd like to add a 5C, here's some information on the children new gym.
Okay, and then it looks like the discussion item is going to be added for COSA messaging regarding Oregon Sanctuary Promise Law. This will be item 5B. And then the action item has been added for the SIA grant agreement approval under 7E. All right. Then we will move to reports, and Janet will go over the financial report.
So there was a couple of questions that Brooke sent to me, so I just wanted to address those first and foremost. In relation to investment interest, I mentioned that within my report to you guys that's in your packet there. And what that relates to is the local government investment pool, otherwise known as the LGSP. All of our money is housed there outside of our local banks. And so all of the schools are kind of pooled there. And so we get a higher interest rate there rather than the traditional banking. That is where I come up with the interest rate at the 4.57. Now, over the course of the 4 years, it has decreased because once we were in that COVID era, it kind of ticked up for a while, and now it's starting to kind of come back down a little bit. So that was what the comment in my report was, is that it was coming back down a little bit, but that is our best bang for our buck as far as getting interest income on our dollars. So we try to keep as much money in the course we possibly can, transfer back and forth to pay payroll, bills, etc. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay. At this time, we've collected in our general fund, we've collected 30%, which we predicted about 31%. So we're kind of right in line with that, with our prediction and what we've done over the past several years. Our expenditures, we have spent out 21% of our budget, and we had expected to be at 23% of our budget. So again, I'm not too worried. That's quite in line right there. Fund balance at the end of the month of October was 18.9 million. That's within the general fund. As of right now, we're kind of wrapping up our audit. And so I've been proving our trial balance back and forth between our auditors and us. And it looks like we're going to end the year for fiscal year 25 at 8.2 million, which is actually a little bit higher than what I had predicted at 7 to 7.5 million. You can look down through there and see that on page 5 and 6 of your packet, it kind of gives a line item for revenues and the expenditures on page 6. I just wanted to point that out so you guys get a line item of salaries, the benefits, and that's what we paid out currently this year versus the previous year, year to date. So it kind of gives us an October to October snapshot and then relation that to the annual budget. So I just wanted to kind of give you a few basics on the financial statement since I've changed them around and given you new information. The course of all of our funds, special funds, debt funds, and of course our general fund, we're within a small percentage amount of our prediction. So we are right on track all across the board with our against our budget, as along with expenditures are at the same. Right at the moment, we are sitting pretty solid with our budget. As far as reductions, this was another question that was posed, coming down from the state in the amount of 5%. What that looks like for the district is unknown at this moment. What was asked by the governor was that each department within the government send in how they would cut 5% of the budget. So for Oregon Department of Education, I sat in on that. What they did is, yes, they proposed the 5% overall. However, they also proposed it not to hit until 26, 27 and not affect our 25, 26 fiscal years. So hopefully, cross our fingers, that will help us out a lot, for just simple and ease. What that looks like could be 0.5% to the districts because it trickles down. The 5% would trickle down. So what that will look like, we're kind of unclear because we're not sure what that number is going to look like. Again, January, February, we're hoping with that a little bit more clarification from the governor. Is there any questions on the financial?
I'll start out with I'm just gonna want to get it on the record that there was a work session held today on bond information with Piper Sandler and the board. Earlier this week, Nancy Hungerford was here on Tuesday, doing training with administrators about writing effective plans for improvement. You had a couple board members attend that. Earlier this week on Monday, I did a trip to Grants Pass, and Marshall was there as well. The reason for that trip is we've had a significant uptick in student behaviors with injuries to the teachers and administrators. And we found that we have some gaps in our programs. We have a behavior program, but the requirements for students and the data collection and the interventions that we have to do takes too long, and we're trying to prevent the students from going back into the class where they can re-injure someone and we need a place to put them. So we're working on the legality and also the people in the places to put those students. Now we're moving as fast as we can. I have a special team that's working on this, and several members of the team are going to be going to Grants Pass on December 10th. That's the next administrative day, and they're available and training them up to go over there. Grants Pass had what I saw was a pretty comprehensive plan for, was basically 3 elements to the program. Part of it is done in the classroom. The more significant piece of it is done much like our behavior programs over at Stern. But what we're missing is that middle step of what happens when they leave the classroom. We need to put them somewhere after they blow up. We need someplace to put them that's not back in the classroom, and that's where we're lacking right now. So we're gonna figure that out. Next piece, Lost River and Henley are a positive one. And the football players that will be playing in Grants Pass this coming weekend. Also, some other good news, the modular is installed at Ferguson. We had high enrollments in Ferguson where there's a lot of crowding, so we were able to hurry up and get that modular in there. It should be ready by right after Christmas. We're still putting flooring and doing some work on it. Also, Brooke asked me to talk a little bit about the forest fees, or the official name for it is Secure Rural Schools Act. So just to give a summary, the district and all Oregon districts receive back payments for 3 years, 2017 to 2020. Just recently, during those years, the Department of Education deemed the Secure Rural Schools Act funds as local contributions. They came from the federal government, flowed through the state, flowed through the county, and so the Department of Education considered those local contribution. So if we received $1 million of Secure Rural Schools Act, they withheld $1 million in state school funds. So they were supplanting that. About 4 years ago, I petitioned Senator Wyden's office to change the language in the act to not allow states to do that. He changed one sentence that said states can't supplant that. So after that, we were able to petition the legislature, and Emily McIntyre worked very closely with me to do that. And the legislature in 2023 approved the payback of those funds, and in 2024, they had to come back and actually allocate the money. So in October 2025, the district received $2,574,781.27. So that was back payment for the forest fees that were hijacked by the state. As of this point, in December, Congress had not passed the Secure Rural Schools Act. It was passed in the Senate, but was not taken forward for a vote in the House by the Speaker of the House. We were supposed to have a team go down and meet with the Speaker of the House a few weeks ago, but the meeting got canceled and the air traffic control was dicey, so we canceled that trip. There's another item that's on the superintendent report that's actually on the agenda, and that's the projects, the proposed projects for the 2026-27 school year. You'll notice there's two documents in there, one dated November 14th, and then another one that's dated November 19th. We put another version in there because Dennis found two other projects, the mechanical room in Mazama, and then also a roof at Bonanza that we wanted to add to the list. So we add those to that. I left it on the agenda. I didn't want to change the agenda, but during the superintendent's report, I wanted to make the request that we postpone action. It's on there for action today. Oh, I'm sorry, on my draft stuff. All right, so it's not on. Well, we're gonna postpone action. We're not gonna do action on it now because Janet and I would like more time to be able to look at maybe possible budget cuts. So we're bringing a revised list that we're requesting. So we'll plan on bringing that in January or February. But the good news is that the list is all done. We're done several months earlier. We're ready forward for that. Will we still go through the facility committee report or more just specific? I included it in the packet for you guys to look at. If you have any questions about it,
We're not gonna walk through it.
No, we can do that. That concludes my report.
I did just going back to the forest fees. You mentioned that there was 4 years that they withheld them, or 3 years, and this is our second reimbursement year. Because didn't we receive this?
We received money after that.
Right, but didn't we receive an initial reimbursement last year?
No, so we received federal forest fees last year. It was a very small amount. I think it was about 71,000 compared to about $1 million or better that we usually normally get. But the federal forest fees, the 3 fiscal years that they came back on, and repaid it that was when that bill took effect, and language change took effect, that it could no longer be dollar for dollar against the state school fund.
So the legislature, 1 year they approved the payback, then the next year they had to allocate the money. And when they allocated the money, they said it had to be paid by October 2025. So they waited to pay us.
It took a while to get it.
Because we discussed this when we got approval.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was the one lump sum for the 3 years. Okay. All right, well, thank you, Glenn. Next is public input. Stephanie, do we have public input? All right, so hopefully when you filled out the public input, you read through the form. So we're gonna use this microphone up here when I call your name. Please state your name, the topic you're addressing before you begin. The chair will refer any questions or requests for action to proper person for a response, but the board will not engage in discussion at this time. All speakers need to keep their comments to 3 minutes or less, so Stephanie will be keeping time. And if a group wishes to speak, please designate one spokesperson for the group, and please try to keep repetitious comments to a minimum. And speakers may offer objective criticism of district operations and programs, but the board will not hear complaints concerning individuals. So is there any questions before we get started? So the first person is Kelsey Anderson.
Your light's on.
My name is Kelsey Anderson, and my topic is a situation that occurred at Mazama that was swept under the rug. So, hello everyone, my name is Kelsey Anderson. I graduated from Klamath Union High School this year in June of 2025. I never expected to come public with this information, but after following the constant occurrences that have taken place at Mazama that get overlooked and ignored, I've decided to come here today to speak on what happened to me in hopes of it calling attention to administrators who are not doing their job and a system who is failing their students. My story is not unique, and I am not alone. I started my freshman year at Mazama in 2021, after going to city schools my whole life. After moving right before my freshman year, I went into this school year with an open mind. I was hoping to make new friends and to have a fresh start. Within my first 2 weeks, my fresh start turned into a nightmare. On September 24th, in my first period intro to business class, I was sexually assaulted by a male student who was assigned in the seat next to me. This student, who was older than me, bigger than me, popular, and on the varsity football team, repeatedly stuck his hands down the front of my pants, going past my underwear. No matter how hard I tried to pull his hand out, and how many times I repeated no, he told me he was leaving his hand there before trying to force it down my pants again. Immediately after getting into my second period class, I asked to go speak with my counselor. I walked into her office in tears and told her what had happened, and right away, the disappointment started. My mother left work and rushed across town in 6 minutes. We were taken into a conference room where we were told he admitted to what he did and would be suspended for 5 days. What they forgot to mention was the fact they were still letting him play in his football game that night. I was told I could get my classes switched. It felt like I was the one being punished for his actions, and we were not going to let that happen. I was made many empty promises that day. The promise I was going to be protected, but when he would follow me from my classroom to the bathroom and stand outside of it, nothing was done. The promise he wouldn't be able to roam out of the cafeteria during breakfast and lunch, but when he would walk right next to me during those times, nothing was done. The promise he would be excused from classes early so he could make it to his next class without bumping into me in the halls, but when he would, nothing was done. The principal failed me, so our next thought was to take it to the superintendent. He had to be able to do something, but my family and I were wrong. I was failed again when I was told just break his fingers next time. Yeah, you'll get suspended, but he will know not to do it again. These are the people we trust with our children's lives. The longer we wait to hold the school and the administrators accountable, the more people like me that there will be.
Thank you, Kelsey, and thank you for having the courage to stand up and say the word that you said. Next is Nicole Mills.
Never done this before, so I didn't know if I was supposed to have a copy for each of you, so I feel you're gonna follow along. Good evening, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Nicole Mills. I'm also speaking for a friend and colleague, Corey Swan, who was not able to be here this evening. She was going to be up here with me. I have been a teacher with Klamath County School District for 27 years. I worked in numerous buildings and in numerous grade levels and assignments. I have never seen the kinds of things that are happening in our schools right now. I am here tonight as a concerned staff member and community member to address the recent increase in violent behaviors displayed by some students towards other students and staff. These incidents are escalating and have been a significant impact and have had a significant impact on the sense of safety and well-being within our schools. A survey was recently sent to teachers asking what kind of behaviors they have experienced over the last couple of years. These are just some of the responses. Students have hit me, punched me, kicked me, bit me, scratched me, and spit on me. These were mentioned multiple times. A student threatened to hurt or kill me and other students. I have been pushed by my students. I have been stabbed by a pencil. Students have flipped and thrown desks and chairs at me and other students. This was also mentioned multiple times. Students have thrown books, backpacks, chairs, desks at me and other students. A student has called me racial slurs. Students have cussed me out in front of other students. This was also mentioned multiple times. I have students who screamed all day long. This was also mentioned multiple times. I have had students throw rocks at me. I have had scissors thrown at me. I had a student threaten to burn my house down with my husband and children in it. I have been kicked in the face. I have had my finger broken. I have been hit in the head and received a concussion. I had a student who broke my wrist. These are not just things that are happening in other places or things that are happening in big cities. These are incidences that were reported by your Klamath County School District teachers. This is a problem. Our students and staff deserve an environment where teaching and learning can take place without the fear of physical harm. When violent incidences occur, they affect not only those directly involved, but also the broader school climate. In order to ensure that our school remains safe, supportive place, we need consistent, transparent, and effective responses. I am respectfully asking the board to develop and adopt a clear policy and set of procedures for addressing violent behaviors. Hopefully, this includes a defined process for responding to incidences, including immediate actions, communication with families, and support for affected students and staff. A structured re-entry plan for students returning after a serious behavioral incident, outlining expectations, safety measures, supports, and follow-up. Consistency across this school district so that all schools follow the same guidelines and respond in a fair, predictable manner. And a focus on both accountability and support, ensuring that students who exhibit these violent behaviors receive appropriate interventions while also maintaining the safety of the entire school community. Having a clear, well-communicated policy will help staff feel supported in managing challenging situations. It will ensure students understand expectations and consequences and assure families that safety is a priority. I appreciate the board's attention to this matter and urge you to take timely action so that our schools become a place where all students and your staff feel protected and respected. Thank you.
Is Ron Schmuck? Apologize if I didn't say your name.
My name is Ron Schmick. To the members of the school board, my name is Ron Schmick. I'm here today as a concerned spouse and community member. I never expected to be standing here before you under these circumstances like these. Recently, my wife Tracy, who has been a dedicated staff member in this district for 16 years, and works at Peterson Elementary, she was violently assaulted by a student. She was taken to the hospital with facial injuries and a concussion. This was not an isolated incident. The student has a documented history of violent behaviors, including a week prior pulling out chunks of my wife's hair and kicking her. These prior incidents were not dealt with in a way that was protected staff or prevented escalation. I want to be very clear. My wife is committed to her students. She has shown patience, compassion, and professionalism every day that she steps into her school. But no educator, no human being should be asked to endure repeated violence as part of their job. The impact that these incidents have had on her physical health, emotional well-being, and professional life have been profound. And I know that she is not the only staff member in this district who have faced dangerous behavior without adequate protections in place. I am urging the board to take immediate concrete action to ensure the safety of my wife and her colleagues. And there has to be clear enforced policies regarding repeated violent behaviors, including mandatory interventions and consequence, transparent reporting, and follow-up procedures so that staff know that incidents are taken seriously. Adequate staffing, training, and resources for crisis prevention and de-escalation before situations turn violent. Support systems in place for injured staff, including medical leave assistance, counseling if needed, and a return to work plan. These measures are not about punishment. They're about prevention, responsibility, and creating a safe environment for everyone, students included. When violence goes unaddressed, we fail the victims and we fail students who need meaningful interventions. As her husband, it is my job to protect my wife and family. I can't do this without your help. This board was appointed and elected by our community with the understanding that it is your responsibility to enact policies and procedures to keep our students and staff, like my wife, safe. I am asking you to act now so that no other teacher, paraprofessional, counselor, or staff member has to experience what my wife has endured. Please show this community that the safety of our students and staff matter. Thank you for your time.
Next is Jake Scott.
Good evening, board members. My name is Jake Scott. First and foremost, I want to be clear. My concerns are specific to certain actions, individuals. I'm not targeting all teachers or administrators. You guys do a lot of good work, and I'm very grateful for every one of you. But last month, the superintendent did confirm that my complaint against a teacher at Mazama High School was substantiated and personnel action was taken, and that safeguards were in place. But when I exercised my legal right to request public records, documents that should show oversight, accountability, and functional systems, what I received was little to nothing. Not because nothing happened, but because nothing was documented, or worse, because what was documented was withheld. And the tiny amount that was released exposes something this district cannot ignore. The problem has been going on for years, and the administration knew about it. And instead of fixing it, they minimalized it, dismissed parents, and protected a system. Internal emails that I was provided show that previous administrators reviewed concerns that they strategized to manage parents. The current administration at Mazama labeled parents who escalated issues to the top as radical and misinformed. They admitted they had multiple issues with the specific teachers over their words, and their words were usually it was just a conversation with said teacher and the situation would resolve. These are repeated problems. They were handled informally. They were not documented, and now the district can claim that there's no record. This was not an accident. It was not a mistake. It's a systemic failure, and it's a cultural problem within the district. It's bigger than one teacher now, right? It's about a district that failed to protect students and failed to preserve records, which is a legal requirement, not just a suggestion. I'm going to be very clear tonight. I'm not asking for reassurances. I'm not asking for a broad statement. I'm not asking for polite deflection. What I'm asking and on record for the board is to identify exactly what oversights have failed. Explain why years of concerns resulted in no documented actions. Publicly outline the non-confidential safeguards. They're going to be implemented immediately. No more vague language, no more closed door explanations, no more telling families that everything is handled while giving us zero evidence that anything is actually being done. Families in this community are being tired of being brushed off. We're tired of being labeled as problems. Tonight, the board has a decision to make. Will you fix the system, or will you continue to protect it at the expense of the students that you're elected to serve? Thank you.
That is the end of public input. We will move on to discussion items.
Can we just address any? Can we address any before we leave? I'm just I'm only asking, all these, the issues all brought up in discussion today were, seem extremely important issues. And we don't convene again until January, so I guess I'm just asking, will you be giving us accountability timeline on some of this? I mean, what's been brought up today, I mean, one is a very obvious situation, the broader situation in the direct, I guess I'm kind of just trying to understand our timeline. Probably what I'd like to do is address like I talked about the injuries to teachers. That's very legitimate. And we're working very diligently on that, and I will give the board updates as we go along. As far as the personnel issue, Mr. Scott mentioned, I've been in pretty close contact with at least most of the board members, and all of the board members to a certain degree, but others quite a bit about getting legal opinions about information we can give out. And we cannot give out disciplinary type information regarding employees. So we can't do that, and we won't do that. However, and so that's, I think, what the public wants to see. What are you doing about this situation at the Zama? We can't tell them what we're doing. However, what I can say is that, like Mr. Scott said, when I came to me for appeal, I found that the complaint was substantiated. And I made superintendent comments that I felt the board was, wanted to see happen regarding the trust that we put in teachers to teach, unbiased, challenge students to express themselves and feel free to express themselves, but it needs to be done in a safe and unbiased manner. So we need to present both sides of the view. I talked about the importance of that, and I tried to generalize it where it's not coming into me talking about personnel discipline. So there were actions taken behind the scenes to make sure that that doesn't happen again. Now, again, we can't prevent someone from saying something. And so these types of actions tend to be reactive. We don't know when a kid is going to hit a teacher for the most part. And so we have to react to it rather than, and that's really unfortunate part of our job is, and life in general, is we react to reports that are given. So I'll be circling back with the board if there's any repeat of the Mazama issue or any other concerns. I'll be reporting back to the board on a regular basis until we have a solution regarding the student violence. And as far as the other personal comments about what had happened, I'm not going to address that just because I don't have records in front of me regarding that right now. I couldn't respond to that as well. Does that answer your question? If it doesn't, I mean, if I can add some more, I'd be glad to. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think you're getting, I'm just guesstimating that everything that we heard tonight is very concerning, and we want to know, that what the timeline is to get everything addressed to hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously, there's some suggestions here. I mean, Jake Scott also made comments and suggestions, and I guess I'm just, we don't convene again until the 15th of January. So it seems like a lot of time then from now for us to have any action. That's all I'm asking.
Chelsea, I'll need to speak with you. I'm the Title IX director for the district, and your situation, concerns me. That's the first I've heard of it, and so we need to talk. You're not in school tomorrow? I'll give you a call. We have your contact information. You're graduated. I'll give you a call, and we can go through some process stuff.
You want to write down your name and phone number so he can contact you?
Sure.
Oh, or is it on their phone sheet?
The Mazama teacher would be one that would be like a follow-up with Jamie because he's monitoring that one. The other one, I'm running point on the student violence piece and, Ron. I was gonna ask you if I could get your paper, so I have, because we got the other one, if I could get yours, I'd sure appreciate it. And I just wanna say that, I'm personally taking this very seriously. Before the incident that Ron talked about, I had already scheduled a special team meeting. The Friday before that happened. And we were already working on it. And again, the charge for the committee is we need solutions right away. And so that's how we're addressing.
When I'm available, and I'd like to go.
Okay. David's the one who's putting those teams together.
Okay.
And I want to thank everybody for coming in to support that as well, because we recognize that it's an issue and it's going to take all of us to try to find a solution.
One more comment. This is, it's not terribly new information, but it's come to the boiling point, and I think what we're doing is to try to take action for it. But the one that concerns me the most, Chelsea, I just wanted to say I'm really sorry for what happened to you. I have some personal history with things not similar to that, but that were bad. I really appreciate what you've done here tonight. Thank you for being having courage.
Yeah, and we know that that was not easy to get up and speak like that. So after you guys go to Grants Pass on the 10th, what is the next step after that? For the addressing the student behavior issue?
Right now I'm looking at one of the things we need to do is we need to have a location to put those students, because you know, class space is limited, so I'm looking at alternatives for class space. And then also, employees have been assigned their jobs for the year, so I'm gonna have to find a way to repurpose people we already have, as well as bring in additional people to give some help. So those are the things we're looking at, but I'm working on behind the scenes while these people are getting up to speed on what our program needs to look at. Like, again, I'm asking them to look at a successful program, because I don't like to do trial and error when we're working with students. I want to make sure that we're replicating successful programs.
So maybe, would you have an update then just before we leave on the Christmas break?
Yep.
All right, any other questions? Okay, then we'll move on to discussion items. 5A is the OSBA convention attendee report. You want to start, Steve?
You don't have to stay the list.
Okay. You're very welcome to stay, but if you want to leave that's totally fine.
So left side like half attendance tickets and right
Yeah.
side's full.
Yeah, we won the lottery over here.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Jake, this is Jake that's not. Here, we're here 5 days a week.
Steve, you want to share about that with me?
So the concert was a concert. The convention was really good. And one of the highlights that the convention always has is performances from students. And one of the days was a mariachi band from Woodbury. And it was tremendous. It was huge. They've been doing this for 20 years, and I took some video and sent it to Sergio and asked him, couldn't Klamath County, with the numbers of Hispanics, have a mariachi band? It was amazing. I presided over several that I won't go into, where I introduced some time and things like that, but, I went through 3 breakout sessions that I thought that I should talk about. One was ethics law, which is really such a fun thing to do. Next year, they're holding your own house members as being part of your ethics. So if you have something that they could be, that you could have a conflict because if somebody that lives in your house, you have to report that you have a conflict of interest. You have to provide a written notice every time. That's the new law. And it has to be on the minutes of record of minutes. It can be both positive or negative results that you might have a conflict of interest. And gifts have to be less than $50 still. I took a free speech. That was interesting. So free speech is emails, text, social media results that you might have reactions and where things are shared. Gestures, sign language, signing up, signing down, that's free speech. Hate speech is free speech, so you can't stop any of that. But where it's kind of foggy is if employees have a school account and a private account, it cannot mix. If you have a private account that you allow students in it, then that could cause termination. So they were very sensitive about saying it has to be separate and don't allow students in your private account. The other thing is if a employee has something that's disruptive, the Supreme Court has ruled against employees almost every time that it disrupts the business of educating students, the employee is wrong. So that's what I have from there. Follow curriculum, follow policy. And they couldn't state it enough. Recommendation is stay off social media. Education equity, another really great. Education equity is you have to be open-minded. Resources have to meet the child where they are at and what they need. You have to apply resources to provide equity. Inclusion, everyone then. So that's my take of what happened. It was good. One more thing I want to talk about is OSBA. We're starting a new year next year, and we're talking about governance. I represent Lake, Harney, and Klamath County. I have 7 boards in Harney, 5 in Lake, and 3 in Klamath because community college. And I have 1 vote. Portland has 1 board, but they have 2 OSBA board members because they have more students. It's by student now, student population. And they're looking at that. They're looking at the different caucuses that we have formed, whether we need caucuses, whether we deserve a vote, because they're not really elected besides their own caucus members. It's not like I'm elected from Lake, Harney, and Klamath, but a caucus is elected by the individuals within the caucus. So that's the big push for OSBA. Governance.
All right, I also attended the OSBA convention. It was my first time going, and I have to admit, I'm just not a fan of Portland. I wish that they held the convention somewhere else because I just don't enjoy being around in big cities and traffic and whatnot. But I'm so glad I went. The keynote speaker, his name is Matt Learman, and he talked about leading through complexity, and he has a podcast, and I listened to it on the way home, and it was very interesting. They picked a very good keynote speaker. That was Friday morning. I went to the state school fund breakout session, and that session, they needed to have an auditorium. While our district is not perfect, we are in a very good shape compared to other districts who had to do layoffs. They're looking at doing another round of layoffs. They're doing a superintendent search, and all of their board members are brand new. So it made me feel grateful for our school district. And then in the afternoon, we got to do our regional breakout. It was Steve, I, and a school board member from Lakeview, but we had very good discussion. No. And then on all of their sessions were so good, and I wish I could have attended all of the sessions, but there's just not enough time to do that. Let's see, on Saturday, let me look at my agenda. I went to the public meetings law. I figured let's just get that done because now it's required for all board members to do that. So that was interesting. Did the hot topics roundtable. So it was about freedom of speech, and there's a lot of districts that are really struggling with many things with freedom of speech. Issues impacting rural school districts and our policy update coming out from the state of Oregon. So I thought that was interesting to know what the next round of policies that they're saying are either required or recommended. And I drove home, but it was really good. It was the
Best part of it.
I was happy to get in my car and turn on the podcast to head home, but the networking there was really good, and I do plan on going again, but I just really wish it was in Bend.
You don't have a big enough facility. they have looked. Cause I read about it all the time.
Did you imagine?
So the summer conference was 3 days, 2 days actually. It was in Salem. This year it's going to be Redmond for 1 day. And I forget where the other one is. But they're gonna have it in two different spots. Every year. So Redmond's gonna be closed, but it's still gonna be 2 nights in Alta.
All right. Any questions about that? You mentioned? And we'll move on to 5B, COSA messaging on Oregon's sanctuary status law.
I sent that out to the school board and, because it was messaging that was coming from COSA, and I wanted you guys to be aware of what the messaging was regarding immigration and what they were recommending, like advice comes to your meeting. And also I wanted to be available if you have any comments about that, just because typically I would be communicating those things to the administrators. Right now, the default plan is if I shows up, get a hold of the district office so we can help hook you through, they show up at the building. But this is the most recent information or directions that we were given probably in about a year. So just want to make sure you guys were aware of it.
The breakout session for that was the biggest crowd that they had all weekend. I did get, and we didn't get hurt, but
Yeah, there were some sessions that they probably should have known were gonna be well attended and had better meeting rooms. Okay, thank you for that. And Tammy, are you able to bring up the pictures that John sent you? Do you want to talk about that, Chelsea, Museum?
Also, I presume these are going on the district website, but Marcia took a bunch of pictures of a salmon feeding there. And so she's probably going to post it. This is indigenous species, indigenous
Jeff, can you turn
people, month. And so the Climate Tribes takes that very seriously. And so they did a big salmon day from powwow because they have to show.
Yeah.
But, John, we need to get information on that. They told me about it yesterday.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's been kind of publicized with, they had a flyer on it and stuff. I don't know if we can darken these.
And I can play it again. It's just scrolling through all the pictures.
That's gonna be the gym. It's very similar to Banza. This is one of the locker rooms.
In the school.
Yeah, in the high school. Okay, this is a walkway. Yeah. you see
Sorry.
pause any of those?
Yeah. Yes, I can.
New showers. This is the girls' side. They have individual showers. I don't know if the one before it might have been, they have a handicap shower. Okay, see where the scoreboard is? Behind the backboard, that's where the score table is gonna be. And that might cause an issue, but, okay, this is the walkway in between from the locker rooms to the gym. And I'm gonna propose that we do something to cover the whole thing. But it wasn't bid, so it's gonna have to be our district doing it. Yeah, this is the team room for football. Those are all lockers behind. It's not lit very well, but it's really nice. This is the bleachers. These fold out, and there was a picture earlier. It might be the next one where they're shouldered behind it. This is the girls' locker room.
Sorry, I don't know if you're trying.
That's girls' locker room again.
Just going back.
Nice, short, beautiful. That'd be sitting, from where the team's gonna sit, looking across, all those bleachers are pull out. Somewhere there's a picture of the hallway behind, there's a big storage area behind. There it is. That's the storage behind so they can, you know, they can have all kinds of, they have wall racks and everything in there.
Concessions going.
Okay. That's individual dressing rooms that they put in. But this is the girls, the boys have them too. Yeah, and this would be another view of the front, entrance. And again, the quality, and I asked specifically about the sound, and it's good. They have really good sound system. They tested it out the other day. Because that's one of the biggest hassles at gyms, where you can't hear a thing. But I like all the lighting, you see all that? That's the handicap bathroom, a shower room, sorry. And there's a dressing area in that too for the handicap. That's the shower. I assume that's some kind of signal there on the wall up there. Again, that might be something the scoreboard is an issue for the people running the score clock. Because I think they're gonna be sitting right where I'm standing. There is another scoreboard on the other side, but it doesn't have like, all the who the fouls on and all that kind of stuff. It's just scoring the time. Also neat for doing things, the backboards swing out to the side. Instead of going back or forward like the old ones did, so that's kind of neat. But the floor is just beautiful. And the building, it's really neat.
I don't know if there's any more, John. I think we've gone through all of the ones that I was able to upload. I do have the pictures.
That was just one thing, because the gal that was showing me around does the scores. But she was kind of doing that. But it's really cool. There's a celebration on December 3rd. I think we're playing Culver. But they're gonna be a ribbon cutting, I think during the afternoon, and then the ball game that night. And I have a proposal. I know Bonanza, they have really big free hot dogs. It's really cool.
We're gonna do the same thing.
Well, I got a proposal. I think we need salmon. I got Will, he'll cook them outside. We'll have salmon. I mean, we're gonna, like step it up. I don't know.
Fish in there?
No, they brought salmon down from Columbia River.
Not fish at the new chair.
They make salmon dogs?
That does not.
It's really good.
All right, well,
Isn't that right? Marcia,
Oh, yeah.
salmon is good, wasn't it?
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I still don't, yeah.
So December 3rd
December 3rd is a Wednesday.
is the gym opening at 9:00.
Opening, no.
Grand opening. And,
No, I think it's
That'll
like
be,
one in the afternoon.
just like the hands in the afternoon, then we'll,
One in the afternoon is good. And then the ball game started at 4, and like the varsity boys is probably at 8 or something like that, or 7:30. So I think there's 3 or 4 games.
Stephanie, you'll send out that notice.
I think Ruben's gonna, I'll have Ruben send.
Marcia's working on that, when they worked on it today, so. We'll do that.
all right, well, thank you.
You still have the same scissors? You guys were packing them away for you.
Marcia,
Yes, sorry. Yes.
the invitations for the Chiloquin gym
Yeah.
opening, you were working on that today. Do you have scissors for the ribbon cutting, the big scissors?
Scissors, actually, person in charge of the scissors that we're borrowing from is, Ruben's wife. So we have cut it in there. But yes, we are lined up. to-
Did you change the schedule to salmon instead of hot dog?
You're gonna have to.
Well, the district supplied the hot dogs,
They've got the supply stand and you can salmon.
I'll come
Build a
over.
fire for him. Cook it up.
I think they went to 100 pounds of salmon today.
Yeah.
So
Just support your business.
All right, well, thank you for sharing that, and I'm sure Chiloquin is so excited for that
Yeah,
win.
it's really cool.
Should I even ask the questions? You'll maybe at our next board meeting, update on how that all shakes out. Yeah, You can just email it to us.
All right, now we'll move on to the consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second,
Motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion on any of the items?
does the Ford van run?
Oh,
Well, Something to go to Burning Man.
They shall go in the burn. Why am I still?
All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented signify by saying aye. Aye, motion passes. Okay, moving on to 7. 7A is the grant awards.
I'll make a motion, we approve the grant awards as presented,
Second,
$54,083.92.
and I'll second that too.
All right, motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Okay, 7D, policy update, second reading for adoption of BHD board member stipends and reimbursements. So please remember to declare your conflict of interest before you say anything.
I declare I have a potential conflict of interest under ORS 224.020.
Just go down the list. Okay, I declare a potential conflict of interest under ORS 224.02.
Rademacher here. I declare that I have potential conflict of interest under ORS 224.020.
I declare you have a potential conflict of interest of ORS 224.020.
I declare potential conflict of interest under ORS 224.020.
I move that we adopt the language change to board policy BHD as
Questions are adopting policy.
Before you go, I'll go ahead and second that, just so we can have discussion.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Now we'll open for discussion or questions.
Yeah, I guess I'm just understanding, like, if we adopt this policy, we're still, we're not necessarily picking up that we're setting, you just give yourself the option.
That would be putting in the budget.
And you asked, are any districts, Portland Public has adopted this. This one in the state.
Are we voting tonight to just change words, or are we voting to put this in place?
You are voting tonight to change the policy so that you do have the option to put it board stipends. Either by way of budget, doing a board resolution, different options for addressing it. This doesn't necessarily put the board stuff in there.
Thank you, our term time.
We check that email.
Yes.
Well, I'm voting anyways, right? I go to go now or later.
I will say the reason I'm gonna vote for it is because eventually, we hope to have a diverse board, and if one of the board members is an hourly employee, And if they wanted to go serve a holiday meal or go do a school visit that's during their work hours where they wouldn't get paid, I would like for them to have the option to get reimbursed, so they're not being financially impacted by sitting on the board. So that's the reason I would vote yes for it.
That's a great reason.
That was the intent. The intent is to broaden the people that will serve on the boards throughout the state.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that because I think that was. I think generally speaking, no offense, but it is most convenient to be retired.
Absolutely.
To serve on this board,
Often,
and very difficult. Still in the workforce, so I could understand that, I'm just not ready to actually put a budget number to it, I like, there's so many other parts of the budget, so like, I would vote for it, but I'm concerned that, not having the control over somebody else taking it on as a budget item in the future makes me nervous, because it's like, I don't know who may be sitting in my position, but they may go like, write it up, pay me up. And that concerns me because that's never my intent or what my intent is.
I feel like there's more language that needs to be developed before voting.
I wish the cap was lower than what the state cap was. And I don't,
$500,
$500 a month, right?
yes.
Yeah,
And then that grows.
Yes, but it increases.
I just feel like if I was to look at my time spent on this board right now, I would think that I probably shouldn't get paid $500. And not saying that that's where we would settle, but I am saying that like, I can't control where somebody else may go.
We can put a cap. It's our policy.
That's what I'm throwing out. I would be more for it if I knew the cap was lower than $500, just because I feel more comfortable with this policy being in place moving forward. And I don't know what that number is. I haven't thought about it.
So maybe we need to table this for the time being to develop more language. I'm probably screwing up most rules of order.
I don't think this is setting that we're gonna do anything. It's just that gives us the option.
Changing the word.
I mean, it doesn't really say we're doing it or anybody's doing it. Or.
Well, but it is saying that we're following the cap set by the state. If we added our own cap in this policy, I believe.
Or in what we actually adopted.
I think you could say the policy's in place now, we're just doing a budget item. And then we're just figuring about a budget item, but what I'm talking about is if it's not me here, then it could be somebody else, they go, I'm fighting hard for $500, and I didn't agree with that.
But that's up to them to do.
Yeah.
It might be a single mom that needs $500.
I feel like if $500 keeps somebody off the board, I think maybe it's not just the place. And that sounds really mean throughout. Oops, let me back up. I just feel like we have all these cuts that we have to make in budgetary things, and I feel like this is it is a volunteer position I was elected on. I chose that, and it does suck to have to work and lose work and all of that. It's just part of the deal. So. And I agree with Brooke, I do love the fact that we do need everyone to have the chance and the opportunity to do this and to have a part in this and to give back. I just don't know that how $500 is gonna convince a single mom to join this glorious position. So I just thought, so if we just need to vote.
Yeah, well, I think we could either vote, and if it doesn't pass, then we need to be
we have to vote on this motion next. We need to vote on this motion and then we want to do something.
Okay. Any other questions or comments before we go to vote? All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Right.
All those opposed?
What little no vote, other one.
I'll vote no too.
I'm going to change my vote to maybe draft up some different language. I'll vote nay. Motion fails for the time being. So,
And I'd like to see this on the January.
that's just what I was gonna ask, how we want to move forward with this.
Most of our board policies we get from OSBA. So if we're gonna make a different policy, we have to rewrite ourselves.
Yeah, this is their.
Right. Right. So if we want some different policy, we have to. Which we can do.
Would it make more sense to do it at the same time we're doing our budget? Or not?
You
I
would have
don't
to
know.
have the policy in place prior to.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm not ready to.
Use the microphone.
Changing the words.
Use the microphone, please.
I am not voting and I'm not ready to change it and put it in the budget. I don't think that we have the money. That's my take on the budget coming. And I'm just saying, let's change the wording.
Okay. So do you want to propose some different language, Mark, and then bring it back?
Yeah, I would be, I'd be willing to look at it a little further.
Okay.
Have it on the January action item.
All right. And we'll move on to 7C OSBA Board of Directors position number 4.
I move the Klamath County School District Board supports Steve Malone for the US OSBA Board of Director position number 4. US.
I second, I'll second it.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion? I actually have a question, Stephanie. So are you the one who cast the vote for our school district? Okay. Do you have to declare conflict of interest? Oh, okay. All right. All those
You have a
in,
typo?
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
I did find out that if there is a time.
That would be great.
It's not a conflict.
All right, and we will move on to 7D, re-adopt 2025-2026 superintendent evaluation timeline and administrator climate survey.
We've got 26 superintendent's evaluation timeline, administrative climate survey as presented.
Second.
All right, the motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion or questions?
Just a comment, I appreciate your work on the administrative climate survey, and, you asked us if there was anything that we wanted to change. And I thought you did a good job, so thank you for putting it together.
Can I second that? That was pretty good.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So I have a question, just because this is a first. So how do we facilitate the survey? So do I put it together, the Survey Monkey, and send it out? That's the part I'm, and if so, I'm gonna need help.
I would usually do it in Survey Monkey and
Can
send it
you
out.
send it out?
About KCSD Tech.
Results and present them at the first special board meeting.
Okay,
It's all, not hard. I
okay,
know it's hard, but that's all.
all right. Any other questions, discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye, motion passes. 7E, SIA grant agreement approval.
I'd like Jeff to address that because it's put on the last minute.
Yep, apologies on it coming in at the last minute. We received the grant, just this month. Oh, yeah. Received the grant just this month. So you've heard me talk about the student investment account a number of times in conjunction with the integrated guidance application and the integrated guidance plan. The integrated guidance plan is a conglomeration of multiple grants, but the biggest grant within that by far is the student investment account. And the student investment account, it was created through legislation, so it has specific requirements that are unique to the SIA account. This is one of those things. So in last spring, I presented our application for the student investment account in conjunction with the integrated guidance plan application. That was in the spring, so I was up here and talked about that. Then I came back last month and I presented, that was the let me go back. The spring was the application for this biennium's grant, the 25-27 grant. Then I was back last month talking about the annual report. The annual report was for last year's grant. So I'm trying to not get you confused as to what I'm talking about. So what today is, so the student investment account, the Oregon Department of Education, the grant has moved through the Department of Justice and they've issued the actual application, which the actual grant, which aligns to the application that I presented in the spring. The purpose of this grant specifically is meeting students' mental and behavioral health needs, increasing academic achievement, and reducing academic disparities between targeted student groups. Okay. The amount of this grant over the biennium, over the 2 years, is just over $15 million. And as a reminder, about just right at 85% of that grant is in personnel costs. And it works out like this. We've hired 18 licensed counselors or child development specialists within the grant. There are 24 teachers in the grant. There's 7 classified employees in the grant and 4 administrators in the grant. And that's 85% of the total for the 2 years, the 15 million. Other things that are in the grant are professional development. A large portion of the grant, of what remains of the grant, goes towards professional development, whether that's timesheets, time cards for paying extra duty time, or the cost of the professional development itself. And then the other big ticket item within the grant is student supplies, classroom supplies that are specific for student use. And that pretty much rounds out the full 100% of the grant, the 15 million over 2 years. So the request today, and it does require action item, that's the legislation requires that you formally accept the $15 million under knowing that it follows in line with the application that you received and reviewed and approved last spring.
I move we approve the SIA grant agreement as presented.
A second.
No question. Janet, does this mean Jeff gets 15 million to spend as he wants?
Absolutely not.
Tight leash, tight leash.
We try.
I have a question. Do the funds from this grant come from state or federal sources?
These are state funds. Student investment account is state funds.
Come from the taxes corporation.
Correct.
I thank you for the reminder. I'd forgotten about that.
It's the cat tax, isn't it?
That's I tractor.
That cat tax, I think, is decreasing So is there concern about this fund being available going forward, since we are using 80% of it for staff?
There are concerns, and there was a reduction in the grant from the spring, anticipated allotment. It was reduced 3%, and I had to make those corrections in the budget this, last month.
And I know, I mean, going forward, when you apply for it again.
It's a 2-year grant.
Yes,
It's a 2-year grant.
It's a 2-year grant, but it was reduced,
3%.
this fall by 3%. So we had to make those reductions. Those reductions came out of the 15% that's, I don't want to say it's discretionary spending, but non-personnel spending. So that cut hit the 15% that's professional development and student supplies, because we didn't make changes to personnel in the middle of the year.
Sorry, to keep barraging you. Just leave your microphone.
Yeah.
Is the personnel, like, is there flexibility within that, or have they put more and more side? Because when we started, I mean, or if I recall with some of the original SIA grant, we were still kind of feeling out maybe which direction of personnel you were really leaning into. Can personnel shift? Like, can you, I mean, you know, say focus more on shifting to counselor / behavior, something like that, right? Or is it kind of like the budget is tight now?
I think for the course of the year, we like to keep, you know, once we have the district budget approved by the board and the personnel approved for the different grants, we like to hold that steady through the year. But we can change who's in a grant or who's not in a grant. That's, the business office can make those changes as long as it aligns with the allowable expenditures of the grant. So within the integrated guidance plan, there's a big option called well-rounded education. So that can catch a lot of things within the student investment account. Like I said, the purpose of the student investment account, student mental and behavioral health needs, increasing academic achievement. That's a pretty big category for schools and the district, and then reducing academic disparities. So there are some guardrails on how the money can be spent, but they're pretty broad when it comes to, you know, teachers, counselors, people that are actively engaged in the business of education.
So Mark,
Did that answer your question?
yeah, I mean, and I think what you might be, seems like to me, a lot of our conversation started post-COVID with social emotion, like concern for social emotion. And it feels to me like we are somewhat shifting away from like being worried about kids feeling alone and more being worried about kids being out of control. Exactly, and that's the fund that I'll be looking at. When I say grants pass, that's how they funded some of these positions. And so going forward, we can change what those job descriptions are from project-based learning type things, and reduce some of that and put more behavior measures in play. The difficult piece right now is in the middle of the year, people already have their jobs and you can't change their job description. So that's one of the challenges I have to meet real quick, is to figure out where I'm going to get the resources to address the behaviors right away. But going forward, that's going to be the source that we're looking.
All right, any other questions? All right, all those in favor, all those in favor of approving the SIA grant agreement as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right. Meeting is adjourned.
Real quick, just have a question. Like with everything we heard tonight, is it appropriate to expect like a written report or something like by Wednesday, because Thursday's Thanksgiving, from Glenn about like responses or steps taken or actions? Is that, and if so, can I suggest that or ask that, or is, I don't know the rule.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. then I'm asking for a written report on what the plan is and the responses, because this was rattling tonight, so I would just like to have something before, I guess.
Well, on the behavior one, Mark, I said before Christmas, those people before Wednesday, they're not even gonna be able to go to Grants Pass. And my team has to see some of these things, so I would say that piece can happen before Christmas. Cause I was like, before Wednesday.
Maybe even if just your plan includes that's your plan, is that you've got,
The report on the trip to Grants Pass.
or just that it's gonna happen, like just a report of like,
You don't need to report something he's told you.
I can get something out by Wednesday. I can, give a status report and what's planned. Yeah.
All right, then we'll adjourn at 6:20.